Hi there, I'm Ellen Johnson. I'm the owner of Serendipity Needleworks and the founder of the Stitchers Club, and I'm delighted to be here with you this afternoon for another episode of Needlepoint TV. So, it's always great fun for me to see who's here with me and to see where you're watching from, so please take a minute to pop into the comments box and share where you're watching from and say hello. And I want to make sure too that all of the technology is working like it's supposed to. So do me a favor and give me a thumbs up and or a heart or something to let me know that you can see me and hear me okay. And today we are going to be chatting about the Christmas ornaments that we've been stitching, or that some of you have been stitching. I've been stitching some, and I know that some of you have been stitching them as well. So all right, so Carol says she can see me, so we're good. And so I'm going to, like I said, assume that we are operating, all the technology is operating well. And oh goodness, look at all the folks popping on. Okay, good deal. So thank you so much. Great. Thank you, Sherry. All right, so I have been working on the Christmas ornaments, the Christmas light bulbs, and we have the pattern inside of the Serendipity Needleworks, the free group, the free Facebook group. The charts look like this. They are, let's see, Susan Portra did these. She did the designs for these, and she shared them with Rainbow Gallery, and she did that, golly, I know, probably at least, well, I know it was at least 17 years ago, but it may be more like 20 years ago. Let me look and see if there's a date on these. I don't see it right now. But I've done, here's the first page. So you get the chart, you can get the, well, let's see if we can get this right. Okay, so you get it's a counted project, which is really fun because if you have a lot of thread in your stash that you're trying to use up, or if you're maybe looking for a project that is a quick and easy or fun stitch, this is one right here. These are really fun to do. You stitch the outline, and let me show you quickly what this one is. I have one that's what I call a PIP, a project in progress. So let me show you what one looks like in progress. You can see I stitched the top of the ornament. I used chronic gold braid, and I actually used 002 HL, which is the high luster version of their classic 002 gold braid. I used tapestry braid number 12, and then I stitched the outline of the ornament or the Christmas light using Splendor. And the reason I did that is because this particular ornament, the red one, or there are two red ones, but one of the red ones uses these three threads. It uses, let's see, Splendor, and it uses Flare, and it uses Fireworks. So I'm using these three threads on this particular Christmas bulb. And let's see, let me show you the chart that I'm using. So it's red light number 2. Wait a minute, here it is. It's this one right here. So it's red light number 2. And so far, it's been easy to do. Now, like you can see, I haven't done a whole lot. But what you want to do on these ornaments is once you stitch the outline, then you want to find the center, both the horizontal and the vertical center, the true center of the bulb itself, and then work from that. So you can see I found the center, and I've worked my way up that row. Now I'm going to come back and work my way down the row. And once I have the center row established, I can work the rest of the pattern off of that center row, which makes it super easy. And literally you can stitch, some of these are more challenging than others, I will say. Now, the last one I did was a yellow one. Wait a minute. I don't know that I have it here. I don't know, because the chart, they're like, I think 6 or 7 pages. There are 13 ornaments. Yeah, I don't have the chart for the yellow one that I just did. But the yellow one that I just finished was a little bit challenging. So it was the pattern, I don't know. I don't know if it was the way my brain was working that day, or if it was just that particular pattern was one that was a little bit more difficult to read because of the way the chart was drawn, because so many of the lines looked very similar. So something that you can always do when you're working these charts, you can blow these up, and I would suggest that you do that. In fact, I think on the next ones that I do, I'm probably going to do that. Take them and have them and enlarge them on a photocopy machine because it will make it much easier to read. There's some that, you know, that have very little, they're very subtle, very small touches of one particular thread, and sometimes it's easy to miss that. So you want to make sure that you can see the chart really well. But anyway, that is what I have been working on recently, and so I'm going to try and get the rest of these little guys done. I know we're quickly getting close to the finishing cutoff date. Can you believe July 1st is the finishing cutoff date for a lot of shops, particularly this year with the delays in shipping and with the finishing companies being so inundated with finishing. We've been quite prolific during this pandemic. So there are a lot of finishers have backed up their finishing due date. So if you are considering getting some things finished for Christmas this year, I would suggest that you really begin to start making movement toward getting those things into the place that you're going to have them finished. Let's see. Christine says she's gotten instructions blown up to 11 by 17 on 11 by 17 paper at FedEx, which is great. FedEx Kinko's. That's a great idea. Yes, you can. You can definitely get things blown up much larger. And the nice thing about these, actually something I've done in the past, is I've cut these into, and I don't have my little piece, but you can cut these apart so that you don't have the whole chart. You don't have to keep up with the whole chart. You can keep, like, you can cut them across a horizontal line so that you've got the chart here that tells you which color or which thread you do for which symbol, and then you've got the chart. So that's another little handy way to make it a little bit easier to keep yourself from getting confused about which chart you're working on or which one you're looking at. So, all right. So we have got, let me look at all these folks that have joined us here. Y'all, it is so great. Cindy says she loves doing them. She's done 6 and she needs to do 2 more. I love it. So I have several, but I put them away. We had, the girlfriend's getaway was last week, and so I had, no, week before last, so I had a whole bunch of stuff that I pulled out, and I put some things up. I had them out earlier, but they've gone back to, they're in hibernation until closer to Christmas. But anyway, I would dearly love to know if you've worked on those. I know we've had 2 or 3 people who have said that they've stitched them, but if you've worked on one, tell me in the comments if you stitched one and which one you did, which color you did. The nice thing about these, you don't have to use the threads that they suggest. You can use your own threads. You can change colors. You can do, you know, just because the chart says that the triangle one is supposed to be done in red doesn't mean you have to do it in red. You can find some threads in your stash, and then, you know, 3 different textures, and then, or 3 different textures typically. None of these are multicolored. They're all done in single colors. So you would want 3 different textures of thread, and you can just have fun. Use your imagination. Let your imagination go wild and play around with what you have. And even you don't have to stick with these charts. This is a wonderful project for you to test out different decorative stitches. So if there's a decorative stitch that you want to practice because you're thinking about putting it on a project that you're going to stitch, this would be a good place to get some extra practice on it and some extra practice in compensating, because as you can see, the pattern isn't going to necessarily fill the space. You're going to probably have to chop off part of it. So if you have to chop off part of it, you know, you're going to have to do that multiple times because you're working across, you know, a pretty decent size space. So you're going to have to get some practice compensating too. So that's another one of the benefits of doing these, is it gives you some practice on different stitches that you may be considering using on a new project, or you know, it's a great way to use up some of the threads in your stash. All right, so let's see. Oh, I see people are telling me now okay, so. Oh, Ann says photo with your phone. That's another great idea. I love that idea too. And you can also do that with your iPad. If you have an iPad, you could do it, take a photo with your iPad, and then you can expand it out so that you can see it better. So that's a great idea. So Bev has done red ones. Let's see. Sherry says she's done blue, green, and red. And you're right. They are so fun. Let's see. Harriet did blue and red number 2. Okay, so Harriet, I'm working on red number 2 right now. I love it. And let's see. And she says green number 2, and it is more of a challenge. Some of them are that way. Some of them are a little bit trickier than others. So let's see. Teresa did purple and green. Yellow. Okay, so Bev, I bet you're doing the yellow one that I had a challenge with. The yellow one that I just finished before I started this red one. Let me see if I think I just said I don't have the chart, but it was. I think it was the yellow one, number 2. That was the one that gave me fits. And yeah, it wasn't yellow number 1. It must have been yellow number 2. So anyway, that one was a little bit challenging. So let's see, and so let's see. Debbie says that en route from Texas to cooler Colorado. I'm telling you, it's pretty toasty here too. I'm hoping that the heat breaks, but then too, right now we don't have, our humidity's not too bad, so I can't complain too much. Let's see. And she packed, and she says she packed her Christmas light project with her. So great, good deal. So I'm trying to get a whole bunch of these little guys finished so that I can use them this Christmas on a garland, either in our kitchen or in our den. I want to hang them across a garland, and so that's my goal for this is my pandemic stitching. So and I don't know, I'm enjoying them so much I may just keep going with them. There are 13 patterns, and of course you can continue to use the original pattern, the outline, and like I said, you can fill it in with different colors of thread. Don't have to be this, so really you could do the same pattern, maybe the red light pattern number 2, but do it purple. Or do blue light number 1, but the pattern for blue light number 1 and stitch it in green. So all kinds of possibilities. These make really, really nice gifts for people. You could, if you have somebody that you want to share some of your creative, your creativity with, then you could always take it and package it up and give it to a friend for a Christmas gift or for a birthday gift. I can't imagine anything, much better than getting something hand stitched from somebody that you love. So they make wonderful gifts. They're really cute to put on the tops of packages. That they're just, I just love them. And I know y'all probably going to get sick of me talking about them because I'm just obsessed with them right now. So Teresa wants to know if I'm finishing these myself. I'm actually not. I could. I've done that before, but I don't like finishing. It's not the thing that brings me joy. So I've decided at this point in my life, I'm going to let the people who enjoy doing finishing do the finishing for me. I know that there are some independent finishers that you can find online. There and a couple of things to keep in mind when you're working with professional finishers. You want to find out before you send something to them how much they're going to charge, because the worst thing in the world is to get a surprise that's not a pleasant one. I know that, and I'm drawing a complete blank right now on any of the finishers that are independent contractors. West Coast Finishing, I do know, and then there's Needleworks. Now these are companies. So West Coast Finishing is a company, Needleworks is a company, and Marlene's is a company. You can always get things finished. Well, you can usually get things finished through a Needlepoint store. So I know that Sarah at Shandal in Houston she does finishing. She's a member of the Stitchers Club community, and she does a beautiful job with the projects that I've seen that she's done finishing wise. And again, personally, I've worked with Needleworks in Birmingham, which is just up the road from me, and they've done a wonderful job for me too. But there are independent finishers that you can find online, and sometimes their prices are a little bit less, but the thing you have to keep in mind is you want to ask when you want to. This is a personal preference. Now, if you don't mind people using glue on your needlepoint, then go for it. I don't like people using glue on my needlepoint. And the reason being, glue attracts insects, and or some glues do attract insects. And so I just try not to use glue on anything. There are some situations that you have to, but that I typically use in that case. And I know Judith does this. She uses archival quality adhesive, fabric adhesive. So, you know, it's not like using a glue gun. There's a big difference. So you want to make sure that whoever you're working with, you want to know how they're going to attach the trim. So, for example, if they're going to put, I know you see me looking and I don't have an ornament out. I packed up everything. So, if you're going to have a corded trim around the edge, how are they going to put that on there? Are they going to hot glue it on, or are they going to hand stitch it? You know, if they're going to mount it on a board, how are they going to attach it to the board? Are they going to hot glue it down, or are they going to use a fabric adhesive? So, and so there are all kinds of questions that you need to be aware of when working with a finisher. And so anyway, and that just comes with experience. But yeah, and I honestly, Alice, I think Alice is here. Let me see. I think I saw her here. Alice, are you here? Yes, Alice is here. So Alice, do you happen to know, Alice lives in Birmingham. So do you know what Judith's cutoff date is for finishing? If you do, if you type that in the comments box, that would be hugely helpful. And anybody else that might happen to know about other finishers and what their cutoff dates are. And I was looking to see, Joyce says, I think you said, but I missed it. Where are the patterns located? The patterns are inside the Serendipity Needleworks Facebook group. So let me pull that up really fast and I'll show you where those are. I can share my screen with you and we'll hop over there and take a peek at where they are so they'll be easier for you to find. All right, so let me see. Okay, don't want to do that. I think that's the one. I've got too many buttons here. Okay, so if you can see, okay, so Alice doesn't know. That's okay, no big deal. So can you see my screen? If you can see my screen, give me a thumbs up because I can't tell. I think you can, but I'm not sure. So I know there's a little bit of a delay between when somebody gives me a thumbs up and when I see it. So, yep, okay, good deal. There we go. All right, so you can see I'm inside the free Facebook group for Serendipity Needleworks. Over here in the left sidebar, there are all kinds of little things that you can click on. If you click on Files, then you'll see that there is a whole list of PDF files that you can print off. The Christmas lights are right here, RG Christmas lights, and that takes you to the PDF that you can print out. So, all right. I think the reason, all right, so you said you lost me. Do you have me back now, Alice? I think that was because I maybe switched screens and I went to something different. So, I'm going to assume that was what happened and I'm going to come back now. But that's where the Rainbow Gallery Christmas Light PDF is. So you can download that and print it out, and you can then just stitch to your heart's content. There are all kinds of fun different things that you can do with those charts. You could also, I mean, you don't necessarily have to just do them in that light bulb shape. You could also just draw a circle. If you have a glass, you could use a blue water-soluble marking pen, get a blank piece of canvas, draw a circle on a piece of blank canvas, and then fill the circle up with the different stitches. You could do a diamond shape. You could do, well, those are probably the two I would do, circles and diamond shapes. I think those make, or you could do a teardrop shape, and then when you get it finished, you could hang a little tassel off the end, or you could do some sort of a little bead or something off the bottom. But okay, so Alice says she looked up the finishing for Needleworks, and the deadline on their website right now is August the 17th. So we do have a little bit of wiggle room there. I know I've been seeing online that some shops are backing up the finishing deadlines to July the 1st, and that is literally right around the corner. So thank you for doing that, Alice. I appreciate it. Okay, so yes, Harriet, you can also find the charts on Rainbow Gallery's website. So that's good to know too. All right, so let me get this back up to full size. Okay, so basically the Rainbow Gallery ornaments are worked in Rainbow Gallery threads. I did change the top so that the top is worked in Chronic because I didn't, at that particular time I started these, have a card of Treasure Braid, which is pretty much the same thing as Chronic. The threads are made on the same type of equipment, but they do have different colors, although gold is pretty much. But I used the Chronic because that's what I had on hand. And so the rest of the ornaments are being stitched in the different threads from Rainbow Gallery. Some of the threads have been discontinued, so you do need to know that. So if there's something that, for example, Fiesta has been discontinued. So if you print off the charts and you try to find Fiesta, you may find some Fiesta in some shops that may still have some left over, but it's not being manufactured anymore. So you would, if you can't find it easily, then you would want to substitute something for it. And I typically have been substituting Splendor for Fiesta because it does have a sheen. Fiesta is a rayon thread, and I'm not a huge fan of rayon threads. They're just really slippery and hard to work with. So I prefer working with silk, and Splendor is a good substitute for silk. And also, let me see. Let me look at this list and see. So Flare, okay, so Fiesta I know has been discontinued. There are some others that have been discontinued too. There may be some colors that have been discontinued of a particular thread, but the thread is still available. In that case, you would just want to try and find something that was a similar texture in the right color, or you could just change the colors altogether. Pebbly Pearl, I can't remember if that one has been discontinued or not. I want to say it has, and it's a cotton thread. But anyway, there are a few that have been discontinued, but you can do substitutions. And you can use threads. You don't have to use just Rainbow Gallery threads. You can use threads from, like I said, from your stash. Although Rainbow Gallery has made it super easy for you by just giving you the names and color numbers of the different threads that look really nice together. So Cynthia wants to know, what mesh canvas do you recommend? You can stitch these on 13, but I've stitched them all on 18 mesh, and that's going to give you an ornament that's about, well, let me measure this little guy. So it is from the top of the gold part to the bottom is 4 inches, and it's 2 inches wide. So it would be bigger if you did it on 13 mesh, but you certainly could. The one thing to keep in mind if you're going to use 13 mesh canvas is you have to think about the coverage that you're going to get on the size mesh canvas that you're using with the thread that you're using. So you would want to test that out. But like I said, I do like to use 13. You can see I'm stitching this on tan canvas. I've stitched these on white canvas and I've stitched them on tan. The thing that I like about the tan canvas is that it's not so glaring when you don't get full coverage. So, for example, I stitched the turquoise one or the teal one on white canvas, and a little bit of the white canvas does show through. Now, you could solve this problem if you have some fabric markers. Then you can color the canvas the same color that you're going to be stitching with. So if you had an orange canvas, an orange fabric marker, and you were going to stitch an orange light bulb, then you could just color once you stitch the outline, you could just color the canvas on the inside orange with an orange marker. I didn't have any, so I just, I stitched it on white canvas, and a little bit of the white peeked through, so I switched over to the tan canvas because the tan canvas doesn't have as much of a tendency to show through or be as glaring as the white. So you're very welcome. Glad I could help, Cynthia. Okay, well, y'all, it is almost time for me to hop over to the Stitchers Club and do our weekly canvas call with the folks in the Stitchers Club. So if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to call it an afternoon. I did post this week, or today, actually earlier today, a blog post on the Serendipity Needleworks website, and I did not send out an email. I plan to send out an email a little bit later today. The email or the blog post I wrote this morning took a while, so I was a little behind on getting and actually I'll explain in the email that I send out a little bit later today. So I do want to remind you that we're going to start with our Stitching with Ellen. That starts back on Tuesday of next week. So if you're interested in that, there is a place on the Serendipity Needleworks Facebook page for you to sign up to get the information on that. All you have to do is just click that link, and it'll take you to a page where you can sign up, and you'll get an email that has all of the details inside. So I would love to have you join us. That's going to go back to 2 o'clock starting next week because I have a conflict on Tuesdays at 3. So we'll be from 2 till 2:30-ish, 2:45-ish on Tuesdays starting next Tuesday going forward. And then, of course, we'll be back here next Thursday for another episode of Needlepoint TV. So, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, happy stitching. Bye for now.